wish you'd understand. I just wish that God had a better plan. I'm so confused. I need a redo. Inside of me that's begging and begging and pleading. I just wanna feel free. I just wanna feel lovely. I'm surrounded by love that's in pain. Can I wipe your tears away? Please don't hurt for me. I hate that it's for me. It's for me.
Hi, welcome back to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast, where I am trying to spread awareness about what it is like to live with chronic disease. I have been living with multiple sclerosis for the last 28 years. I talk about my journey as well as the journey of other chronic disease warriors all over the world, just to try to help people understand what it's like going through that diagnosis, how it affects our family, how it affects our relationships, how it affects our jobs. Today, I am sitting down with an MSer from the state of Maryland. I met Hollie a few months ago on TikTok. Love everything about her. She is an absolute warrior. She's actually dual diagnosed. She's also got a diagnosis of hereditary angioedema, which we're going to talk a little bit about too. She's a very big advocate in the community. She actually goes up to Capitol Hill and talks to Congress. She's an awesome lady, but please welcome to the podcast, Hollie. How you doing today, Hollie?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Hollie. Like I said, when I first met you and the more I've gotten to know you, you're just an amazing lady. You're a single mom and you're a warrior and you are just such a fighter, and I love everything about you, Hollie. So when you said that you wanted to record with me, and I jumped all over the opportunity because I know you got a lot to say. You got a lot of important things to say. So I just really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you so much.
So Hollie, when you got your diagnosis in 2017, I know you were already dealing with the edema that you got diagnosed in 16. Can you kind of just take us through how you went and you got that diagnosis, and then a year later you got your diagnosis of MS?
So the hereditary angioedema, that is a rare, for normal people, inherited genetic disorder. I did find out I was one of the few % of people who spawn the disease on their own. I did not inherit mine, but it causes like severe recurrent swelling in various parts of your body, like your hands, your feet, your abdomen, your throat. It used to be, there used to be a very high mortality rate. And my diagnosis that started, I was 16 years old, and I would just have like these random swelling attacks in my hands is where it began. Anyone remembers the hamburger helper gloves? That is what my hands would look like. And over the years, it would like other things would start happening. I would swell, my feet would swell, my hips, your genitalia can swell. And I'd be in and out of the emergency room often. And had, they would just give steroids. They never understood. And then I started having the abdominal swells, and those swells are your intestinal wall swelling. I've had 4 children. This pain of the intestinal wall swelling hurts worse than that. And I would be in the hospital 4 to 5 times a year for 5 to 10 business days. From the pain it's undescribable, but it came with profuse vomiting. I'd always be released. I've had unnecessary surgeries, unnecessary procedures, just so much unnecessary stuff would be released with no answers until I convinced myself one night that I had lupus and reached out to my primary for a referral to a rheumatology place. And I was lucky because there was a woman there. She's been practicing for a couple decades. She said, I've only ever diagnosed 3 people, but I have a hunch it's not lupus, it's this other disease. Mm-hmm. And she was able to diagnose me. And from there, they had back in 2011, I believe, is when the first rescue meds came out, because this disease it presents, it looks like allergic reaction, but we don't respond to the antihistamine or EpiPens.
Wow.
And that is why with the throat attacks, there used to be such a high mortality rate. There's many people in the community with trach scars.
Yeah.
But it kind of tied everything together because I was never putting together that my hand swelling and my stomach hurting were the same thing. And then,
I couldn't
so
imagine.
I was fine.
I couldn't imagine going through that. At a young age, you're 16 years old, and you're trying to get answers, and you got doctors, just basically spinning you around. I couldn't even imagine what you were going through. Just the mental health part of that, Holly.
Yeah, it was very hard. And a lot of the problem, the woman who did diagnose me, she told me, she said, it's kind of not anyone's fault because you have to test for it specifically. And it was so rare. It's so rare. It was so unheard of. Nobody knew, like, even if, and I would never go to my local ED if I had a flare now. But even when I would, I'd bring educational material and still no one would listen to. So I'm treated up at, am I allowed to say the hospital I go to?
Sure.
Okay. I'm treated up at Johns Hopkins. And that's the only place that I will go for anything if need be.
Yeah.
But when I first started having a treatment, it was, I got the rescue meds. And back in, I want to say it's 2018, the prophylactic maintenance med that I use now, was released. And so I now, I have the prophylactic to kind of like keep it at bay. And I use a rescue med for the breakthroughs. But it was shortly after that when I was at work one day and my left hand had gone numb. And I'm like, and I'm just, smacking my hand. I'm like, wonder if this is normal. And I was asking, I'm like, anyone ever had their hand go, numb? And by that night, it was my left foot. And I'm just like stomping on it because it was like I could still do stuff. It just felt numb. And when I woke up the following day, it was my whole left side, and I couldn't describe it because I'm like, it's numb, but I could still walk, but it kind of felt like I could collapse at any moment if that moment came.
Yeah.
So I went to my dad and I'm like, Dad, I was like, is it normal if my whole left side is numb? And this is verbatim. He's like, God damn it, Holly, you're having a fucking stroke from eating all those chocolate eggs.
Oh,
and I was like, just so dense. I'm like, well, do I have to go to the hospital for a stroke? And he looks at me and he's like, well, excuse me, damn it, Holly, yes. And I can't take you. Your brothers have a baseball tournament. And I was like, oh. And so I was like, that's okay. It's my left side. I drive with my right. And so I go to my local ED and they're like, oh, it's probably a pinched nerve. We'll just do an MRI, your brain, neck, et cetera, and just check. You probably have a pinched nerve. So I'm in there and I get the MRI for hours and I come, I'm wandering around getting in trouble because I have wandered from the ED into the cafeteria. You're not allowed to do that. But I was hungry. And I'm just waiting. It's like 5.5 hours go by. And they come in and they're saying all of these words that I have no idea what these words are. Oh, well, there's, the demyelination words. And they were saying that the on-call neurologist wanted me to stay and do another MRI tomorrow with contrast. If that came back the same, I had to get a spinal tap. I'm like, well, can I just come back later? Because I have to get my kids off the bus. Like, well, no, we don't recommend it. So I made arrangements with their grandmother and I came back the same, do the spinal tap. And 5 days later, I find out, I get my MS diagnosis.
Did you understand what MS was when you got told that you had MS? I know what, because I was the same age as you, Holly. I was 27 when I got my diagnosis. And when that doctor told me that, I knew what the word multiple sclerosis was, but I didn't understand it. I had no clue what MS was at 27.
I had absolutely no idea. I just knew that they were refusing to write me a note back to work. And I debated back and forth with the doctor about, and finally after probably 45 minutes to an hour, talked her into giving me a release to go back to work. Because I'm telling her, no, you don't understand. I have 4 kids. It's just me. I have to take care of my kids. I have to work.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you need to see a neurologist. And I'm like, no, I have to go to work. I shook like I had at this time. By the time I'm leaving, I was shaking like I had Parkinson's. My eyes would do funny things. So it's the one that I couldn't see, but they would it was like shudders, like they would do shudders things. And I was just very, very weak. I did not understand how I felt, how my body felt. I was And I had no interest in finding out why I felt this way. I just needed to go home at this point. And I was just very, very weak. And I had no interest in learning like a dummy, about it, because I had to carry on with life. I had to do what I needed to do. And I did try to make, appointments, and I did look around, but I still hadn't made a follow up. And I went back to work the following day. I'm in full time, and I was struggling. Well, 9 days later, I'm driving home from work, about to turn in my neighborhood. I hit somebody head on because my lights went out.
Oh my God.
And that is when my primary said, absolutely not, no more.
Oh.
To think, moving back, everybody was, somewhat okay. I had a meltdown thinking, because I just cried at the scene. That's all I kept saying was, it's my fault. It's all my fault.
Yeah.
And that's all. I felt so much guilt from that I'd hurt somebody. She had ended up with a very bad broken leg, but I felt so guilty because my negligence, I'd hurt someone.
Yeah. And I gotta believe that just mentally you had to be a wreck at that point in time, Holly. You're just getting the diagnosis and you are in denial because, you got a family at home, and I get that. And, and then that accident happens. I just can't imagine where your head is at that time. It had to be spinning.
It was horrible. And, I passed out from the sight of blood. I didn't even came back to, quick when the accident, I went from, my butt was like in the passenger seat floor. My feet were in the air, kind of. I didn't even know my entire left leg was red from blood, because I was so worried about that person. And I got a couple stitches in my knee. I was fine. But for 3 days, I had to keep going. I would go to the police station because I didn't know at first I didn't know what happened to the person that I hit.
Right.
And it was a horrible accident. Like, we were both going at, at least 45, 50, boom, head on.
Yeah.
And I knew that she had been flown out. That's all that I knew. And I kept going to the police station, and it's the HIPAA thing. I'm
they're not allowed to tell you anything. Yeah, I know.
And I'm just crying. I'm at the thing on the phone, looking through the glass. I'm like, I don't need to know her name. I just need to know that she is okay.
Right.
And on the third day of me camping out up at the police station, finally they had the officer who had written the report from the accident call me and let me know she was flown out, because she did pass out briefly from the airbags. So that's automatic fly out. And then she just had a very badly broken ankle. And no, that's horrible. I still the guilt from that I have damaged hurt anyone. But it was very emotionally draining, not knowing what had happened for 3 days, and just the guilt.
So let me ask you this, Holly. After the dust settled with that accident and all that, I mean, how did you start to understand your MS better? Hey, I this is affecting my my everyday function. How did you wrap your head around that?
So that was in March of 2017, and then it was around July. So after that, that's when I made appointments. But I'm in a small area, right outside in DC and Baltimore. But at that time, there was only one neurologist within within the area, and they didn't take my insurance. So I'd made appointments at places like Johns Hopkins, Washington Hospital Center, a few other places. And the quickest was 6 months. The wait list was forever. And so I'm on wait list for 6 months up to a year at different places. And I'm just on the cancellation list. So I'm just waiting. But that July, I got this pain in the back of my head, and it shot all the way down to my ankles. And I went to my primary, and I tell them, bless her heart, she can only, she's just a primary, she's PCP. And, I've already given her a run for her money with my other diagnosis for 9 years. So she just kind of she wrote me a prescription for pain medicine. And I looked at her, I'm like, but why? And she said, Holly, I don't know. Let's just try this. So I never picked up the prescription. I went home, and I had already gotten all of my hard copy, paper files, of all my medical stuff from the hospital. And I had the discs from all my imaging. I'd already had that in a folder, a big folder.
Yeah.
And I went home, picked it up, and I drove all the way up to Johns Hopkins, and I sat in their emergency room for 18 hours. And I woke up, and I was in, it's their acute care, emergency area, so where you can stay for a couple days, but like you're not admitted, but you're there a couple days.
Yeah.
And it was all of like probably 6 or 7 doctors were at my door, and I look over, I was like, there's too many of you, go away. And they're like, oh no, this is Johns Hopkins, this is how we roll. And I was like, oh, and they said, we're the neurology team. And I said, well, roll on in. And they came in, and it was the lead neurologist and MS specialist at Hopkins, and then his residents. And he like explained it. I was not in an active flare, and they were explaining things. At this point, I don't even remember what he explained. What I remember, he said, and Dr. Conyers has agreed to take on your case. And I was like, oh, well, I'm on a wait list to be seen here. I said, I think I still got 8 more months. And the doctor spoke up, and he was like, well, I'm going to contact my office coordinator. I keep appointments open for situations like this. So I was in within 2 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
It was amazing. And I recommend that to people too, oftentimes. Just going and sitting and thugging it out in an emergency room.
You got to advocate. You got to advocate for yourself, Hollie. And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that you knew that as young as you were in your disease, because you just wanted answers. I mean, for me at 27 years old, I would have just been waiting 9 months, like most people. And it's just awesome that you were already aware at that young of duration in your disease that you're like, oh hell no, man, I want something now, and that's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in hindsight, like I didn't even know that that's what I was going to get out of that. I just knew that something was wrong, and nobody around me could give me an answer.
Right.
And it just like that, like it stemmed from it. That's like when I found out, okay, things can be done. We can make things happen here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did that. And even with that, like I still didn't fully understand the disease. I was still very ignorant to the disease, and I got in with them, and, we start the process of, he explains like I have to go on a treatment, a DMT, and that's fine. And so it started my 5.5-month-long battle to be able to get insurance to approve my first DMT. And that was fun. I was fighting back and forth with them, and the approvals would go back and forth like, oh, we can't read his signature. We can't. Well, now we have a new form, or, oh, we don't know which one he, selected, or it was an absolute shit show.
And this is this is your pharmacy giving you the hard time, giving the doctor's office the hard time.
This was the insurance company going back and forth with the authorization.
Oh my God.
On 5.5 months. And at that time I didn't understand the whole insurance. Now I've got an 87% success rate with these insurance companies, but I didn't get it then. So back and forth until I woke up one day and had lost my vision. It was a very strange kind of vision loss. Like I could see, but I couldn't see. I looked at my son to get him ready for school and saw half of his body, like one eye, nose, like half of him was gone. And I could see, I could see things, but I couldn't see. And it was so strange. I didn't know how to explain it. So I called my neuro. I'm like, something's wrong. I can't see. He said, well, what do you mean you can't see? Is it blurry? I'm like, no, what I can see is clear as day, but I can't see. So he advises me, go to your local ED, have an MRI with and without contrast, and tell them to send me the report. That's what I do. They tell me, oh, well, you have no new lesions. Your old ones look better. And when I did the test, like the eye test where you read the letters, I was decent there, and they sent me home. And so my neurologist said, well, I read the report. No one can misread a report of someone in an active MS flare. So I sat home for about 4 or 5 days, pulling out any med I had in my reserve stock to put me to sleep. Like, I'm going to wake up and be able to see right again.
Yeah.
And my doctor's just like, well, maybe you have a UTI. Like, this could be a pseudo flare. Give it a few days. And all the while, I've got 4 kids by myself. So,
right.
I'm just trying to make stuff shake. And it was about the 4th or 5th day, I said, I can't take this. So I made an appointment with my eye doctor, rubbed on the angel on my rearview mirror and drove there. And they tell me, oh, we can't help you. You don't have blurred vision. You have vision loss. And I'm like, well, I can't drive home. What am I going to do? And they said, well, we made an appointment for you across the street with this Chesapeake Retina Center. They know that you're coming. And I go there and I do like 3 hours of testing. I'm dilated. Now I super can't see.
Yeah.
And the doctor comes in and he checks, he does all his tests and he looks at me and said, nothing wrong with your eyes. This is neurological. And I hand him my phone, tell him my code. I'm like, call Dr. Conyers, please tell him that. So my doctor tells me he's going to reach out to a colleague because he didn't come in until that night and have them meet me in the ED. So I didn't have to like wait. And I get there, she asked me all the same questions. All right, do you have a UTI? Have you been sick? And I'd already done the test for the UTI. They were waiting on that there. She's like, well, I read the report from your local ED. I'm going to go look at the images. And she was back within 15 minutes. Okay. Pulls it up on the screen. And, I'm the blind one here. And she's like, do you see this? And I saw it. And do you see this? And I was in an active MS flare. I had new lesions on my optic nerve and retinal tract. And it created something called a homonymous hemianopsia of the left side, which is where I lost the left side on both eyes, which completely cut the left side of my vision out. And my brain ended up having to fill in the blanks. Like your brain's smart enough, it trains itself to fill in the blanks. So like me, I can read, but I read left to right, and I have to be careful and turn my head now because I very oftentimes too fill in the blanks incorrectly when I'm reading.
I understand that, Holly. I understand that with a vision because, that's been my biggest problem with my MS has been vision. So when you described the way your vision looks, I can totally relate to that. I know we talked about this a little bit before we recorded. I know when I describe my field of vision when I'm in an active episode, I get like this little amoeba in my vision field. And that's the way I explain it. It's like back when you were in biology class in high school and you're looking at those little plates underneath the microscope. And that's what it reminds me of. That's what I see when I'm in a flare. And I immediately, get a hold of my neurologist because I've been doing this 28 years and I understand that. And I'm like, hey, my eyes are getting a little whacked out. And he immediately is like, okay, be in the infusion center tomorrow at 8 a.m. and we'll start you on a 5-day. And usually my vision will come back. But that's been my biggest problem my 28 years. So I totally relate to the vision thing. When they finally did figure out that it was an active episode, did they put you on Salumedrol and did it help bring your vision back?
It absolutely. So I was in the hospital that time. I think I was there 5 or 6 days. I went on the IV Salumedrol, and so my vision it improved. Like I got some of what the field of it back, but again, I think that I see everything because my brain has trained itself to fill in those blanks. So my vision is an educated guess.
Right.
And that's where the reading can create a barrier. Like I can read just fine. I know how to read, but I have to be careful because that vision is an educated guess. I turn my head I turn it to the left so I'm looking out of my right more so, right side of the eyes and I have to be careful, and a lot of words together can be hard because I'll fill in the wrong words. I'll read it and I'll read things incorrectly. It can be and it gets overwhelming with a whole bunch of words.
Yep. I'm the same way, Holly. I struggle to read, and I have a college degree. I know how to read, but it's like I don't see the words like I know that I should be seeing them. So I have to do the same thing. I got to drop my glasses down. I got to look over my glasses. I tried bifocals. Bifocals don't help me. It's the MS. And, my eye doctor, he's been with me all my 28 years and he understands my eyes and he explains it to me. He's like, Brian, he goes, that's just your MS and you gotta accommodate, you gotta figure it out, and just figure out other ways to see. I got you seeing the best I can get you to see. Everything else is just like an adjustment, and I've adjusted for 28 years with my vision.
Yeah, and that's why they recommend the low vision therapy. I've tried that. And it could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing it's not a good thing, but I guess you could consider it not smart. I stopped doing the low vision therapy because I just feel like you could only tell me to turn my head so many times. That's, I understand that's the low vision therapy to me. It's I know I'm supposed to turn my head. I don't know what going 3 and 4 times a week, what else can be taught to me.
Exactly.
I have to adjust.
Right.
That's my new baseline.
Yep.
And it was actually so leaving the hospital from that, 5 or 6 day stay after I lost my vision, as I was pulling in my driveway, I was in the passenger seat. That is when I got the call from the insurance company that they approved my first DMT.
Wow, that's a good
Um,
that's a good call. Okay.
yeah, so it only took, I only just cost you probably hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the ER for you guys to finally get it right. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
maybe she does have MS. We'll let her have it.
Yeah,
Um,
nice of them, right?
so that was the first one. And then I was on it a few months and I ended up relapsing a couple months in a row after that on that DMT. So it wasn't successful. So in hindsight, like it might not have made a difference. I might have, might not have kept my vision, but yes.
It's a flip of a coin. I say that all the
Right.
time. I know there's people that they choose not to even go on a DMT, right
Mhm.
after their first diagnosis. And they end up recovering, whatever their symptoms were,
Mhm.
it comes back because it's relapse remit. It goes away, it flares and then it
Mhm.
calms down. The Solu-Medrol helps it to calm down quicker a lot of times. But, sometimes the DMT is a journey too. I started out on Avonex. I only made it a month and I couldn't take it. I couldn't take being sick every weekend. I went to my neuro. I said, hey, can you change this thing up? He put me on Copaxone. I was good on that one for 15, 16 years. Sometimes the DMT is a trial and error, especially in the
Yeah.
beginning. You got to figure out which one your body is going to accept. Some of them they don't.
Mhm.
Some people have allergic reactions to them. That's just a whole nother part of the journey after the diagnosis.
Yeah. The journey is definitely not linear. It is, it's not linear by any means.
Exactly. So let
So
me
I'm
ask.
on
Let me,
my fourth.
Let
Yeah.
me let me ask you this, Holly. So you're a single mom at this time. You got 4 kids at home. How did they understand that disease? When you came home and tried to explain it to 4 kids, how did they understand it? Or was it difficult trying to tell them, hey, mom got diagnosed with MS and this is never going to go away? How did that part of the journey go?
It's still going. Because like when I came home, like the youngest, they're 4 or 5. They still like don't really understand. And I mean, adults still don't understand in my life. Like they see it, and the mom guilt that comes from that is crazy. So they see it, they see the up and down. And I've tried, to explain it to them. My younger boys, like my younger ones now, mind you, I've been in this so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. We're about to be in 2026. I'm coming up on, 8, 9 years. Um, so they see it, but they don't fully understand,
Yeah.
the younger ones. And my boys now are 14, and the twins turned 12 and, in February, but they were, 5 and 7.
Right.
My daughter is about to be 18, and I think that now she's understanding a little bit more. Um, and, she's, they're all, they're great kids. There's kids.
Yeah, and they learn, and
So
I
it's
think
still learning.
I think they learn at their own rate too. I have 2 kids.
Mhm.
I got my daughter's 23 and my son's 26. He's going to be 27. But I think they understand it differently. I think my 23-year-old has a little bit more. I don't want to say she has more compassion or more empathetic, but she shows it more. My son's more to himself and he doesn't like talking about it. I had my daughter when I was on my old platform before Hale Media. My daughter actually recorded an episode with me, episode 13. And I asked my son if he wanted to do it too. And my son was like, "Oh no, Dad, I can't do that." But I get that, they're 2 different people. They process things different and they handle it different. And I think that's a hard thing for us to understand when the kids are young, that they're processing it at their own rate and their own way.
And then again, like especially when they're younger, like they don't understand fully. And so like I know one time, I had a cane at one point, and my son, I had to actually go to the bus because my little baby, he is my tiny man. I want to say he was like 6. He said his legs hurt, and I had to carry him off the bus, like carry him to get him. So I'm walking back across the street with my cane, holding my baby, because his legs hurt.
Mhm.
So, they just, I think they just don't understand. And even now they hear it, they hear me say it, they know it's a thing, but they don't understand the MS and they like how I'm okay. And they'll see me like, shimmying and dancing and being, woohoo. But then now I can't get out of the bed. So it's kind of like, is
Right.
And so I just, I take the grace, it's the mom guilt, but I give it grace because I know one day, like adults, like I said, adults don't understand MS. Adults will question the MS stuff,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So them being kids and not understanding, I understand that more too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a process, and you know that they love you. I mean, you know that they're kids. It's just that they handle it different, and that's just part of this journey, and it affects us mentally. I mean, like you said, the mom guilt. I mean, I had dad guilt too. I mean, I missed events with my son and my daughter. I was my son's football coach in high school, and then when I lost my ability, my mobility got worse. I had to give up coaching, and I know that affected my son because he had me coaching him since he was 8 years old. And then all of a sudden when he's 12, 13, dad can't do it anymore. And I know that affected him. I mean, this journey it affects our family. It affects friends. I mean, you lose family members over this disease, and you lose friends too, because they just don't understand it and they don't want to understand it. And you kind of drift apart from them sometimes.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking, but it's also fine too.
Yeah.
Because, the right friends they try, like they'll stay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a handful that I can count on still. But, I mean, that's just part of the journey. You got a big circle when you first started out, and, when I was 26, 27, and that circle just shrinks more and more and more as time goes on. People, they got their own things. They got their own families, their own interests, and, they fall off, and that's just part of the life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree entirely.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Holly. When I know that you're like a big advocate with chronic disease, and you go up on Capitol Hill, and I want to talk about that because I think that is just badass. When I found that out, when you were talking about it on a live, just talk a little bit more about what you're doing now and the column that you write. And I just think everything that you do with just trying to create awareness about what it's like living with chronic disease is just awesome. And I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So, my advocacy, like the seeking, on Capitol Hill legislation, that actually started from an organization's foundation with my other disease, the hereditary angioedema. Shout out to the HAEA. But I initially, I had never ever in my lifetime met anybody with that disease. I had built some community through my MS support group for MS, but I was invited to one of their annual summits in Orlando. And so I met people there. And that was summer of 2023. Fast forward, I got an invite to join in for one of their Capitol Hill days. I want to say it's June or July, and that was in 2024. And when I went, we stayed at the Capitol, around the Capitol, and they did like a legislative training, kind of explaining and breaking it down, like what we would be doing, learning about bills that we want to introduce, to be introduced, or we're trying to get pushed through legislation for, the House and the Senate. And, one of the bills that they were advocating for, well, all of them, they spoke to me, but there was one that just the Safe Step Act, and that just, I just zoned in on that. That was huge to me.
Yeah.
I'll speak on that a little more in a moment, but just learning the process and, how we could make this difference. And with that, so they taught us. And then the following day, they'd arranged meetings for us to go to our local legislators. So I met with, so I'm in Maryland. So I met with a few Maryland senators, the representatives. And in those meetings, you kind of like share your story, and then you make like a request for them to co-sponsor a bill. I mean, the bill that you're speaking to. But when you share your story and you put that personal, like you make it real to them, your stories truly, truly do matter. And sharing them, they truly do matter. Because if you just read off this bill, hey, can you co-sponsor this bill? But you don't show them why that bill is so important and the difference that it can make, for people's livelihood.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. And then following that, I had found an organization called the Every Life Foundation. And the Every Life Foundation is a foundation for rare disease patients. There are so many different rare diseases. And I want to say only 5% of rare diseases have any sort of treatment. I am lucky to be in that percent. But I found, and they do events like Rare Across America every year. So you can do virtual interviews. So then that following August, I, joined in with Rare Across America, where I was doing virtual meetings with the senators. And then I went in person to my one of my district, my local district representative. I don't know if I should say the name. I don't want to start political stuff, but so I went into his office, and I had what I had done, because I wasn't specifically with like the HAEA like I was before. I made my own what is called a one pager, where you pick a bill, because these organizations, like, they have certain bills that they are pushing for, but you can also push for your own. And I did that. With that, I created my own one pager of a bill that I was requesting co-sponsorship on. And I integrated it for both MS, and made it relatable for both the MS and hereditary angioedema. And I ended up being the only person there that day that met with these staffers. And I wanted to throw up. It's like, oh gosh. But actually, through our meeting, someone showed up, and he ended up being a great friend of mine. Now I've seen him so many times. He's very involved in, advocacy on the Hill.
That's awesome.
And after that, it was, it's been anytime I can get involved in any sort of Capitol Hill, Rare Disease Week, any sort of Capitol Hill, and anything that I can get involved with, I will sign up, because then they also will do the training. So you learn more about how it works in the process. And actually, I believe it was yesterday, we found out it was the Give Kids a Chance Act got approved through the House. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, Hollie. That's really awesome. I love the fact that you are doing that, and you jump all over every opportunity you have. That's just so important because we got to make changes, and the only way that we're going to make changes is to have people listen to us. And I just think that's awesome that you're sitting there talking to politicians, trying to explain, what it's like living with chronic disease. I think that's so awesome that you're doing that.
And it's more like, these changes need to be made. Like, it's not a one size fits all. The healthcare system is not one size fits all, but it's certain things, like, we need to not just be alive, but to be able to have a quality of life that's worth living.
Absolutely.
And that's where a lot of changes need to be made.
Yeah, I get it, Hollie. It's a system that's broke, and I just hope that somebody can fix it somewhere down the line, because I've been seeing it for 28 years now, and I've been really experiencing it for the last 10. And it's a system that's flawed, and it's not even just the United States. I hear the same thing over in Canada. I hear the same thing over in the UK. It seems like wherever you live, once you have a disability or you are older, because I see the same thing that happens with a lot of the elderly when they get older. It seems like we're forgotten.
Absolutely, I think you are 100% correct. It's not just forgotten. It is just like with insurance companies, the QALY, quality adjusted life years. Like, they just decide on, whether or not you're worth trying to help. And it's very unfortunate. The disability system, I can understand maybe why it's set up, because you want to weed out there's, a quote, bad apples with everything. I'm sure that there are people who try to file and shouldn't, but there's so many of us struggle, and so many of us want to, but I wouldn't give to go back to work and full-time job, to have that sense of purpose.
Amen. Me too.
And
me too.
We don't want to sit home. We don't want to have nothing. No, we don't want this. People, truly disabled people, they truly don't want to not work, and it can be so insulting to, for somebody from the outside, oh, it must be great to be able to sit at home, or, the assumption that you're just lazy. No, it's not that. I crave purpose.
I can work. I can work circles around most people that are healthy. I could do that mentally up until 2 years ago. When I was working, I knew I was disabled, but I was proud of how good my work was. I mean, all my evals, I was 4.8 out of a 5-point scale, but they still terminated me because they couldn't handle my disease. And it was sad. It pissed me off. It frustrated me. I'm like sitting here going, Jesus Christ, I'm just trying to survive. And you guys won't even work with me. You have an elevator that won't work. So instead of fixing the elevator, you terminate me. That makes no sense to me. But that's the way that's the way society is. I mean, if you can't make them money, or you can't do things the way they want you to do them, and they don't want to accommodate you, they just find a way to get rid of you and eliminate the problem. I guess I was a problem for them. So they just said, you know what, we're just going to eliminate the problem.
And then of course, like, yeah, we technically do have rights and things, we could, be done wrong, but who has the mental or physical strength to try and put up that fight? With that.
It's even worse than that for me. The system didn't even help me. I went to an attorney. I talked to an attorney, and I showed them all the evidence, all the emails, all the recordings I had, all the evidence, and they're like, you know what? That's too big of a system for us to fight. We don't want to be involved in a court case that long. I'm like sitting here going, so you're just not going to fight for me? No, we're not going to take the case. I mean, the system's broke all the way around. I mean, I'm trying to go through the legal system to try to get my rights protected, and I still couldn't get anybody to help me. And it's freaking mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But you know what though, Holly? Like I said, they might have figured out a way to get rid of me, but they can't shut me up. So I can talk about it all I want, and that's what I'm doing, and I know that's what we're doing, and we found that community that we can relate to people on TikTok, where I met you, and I really want to talk about that because I think that is so important for the mental health part of this journey. Just talk a little bit about that platform, the TikTok platform, the MS community, on TikTok.
The TikTok Live, the chronic illness community, the MS community on there it blew my mind. Because like I said, like through my MS support groups, I've gained communities through there, and I've learned a lot, and stuff in the community, the MS community there. But joining the TikTok Live community, it's different, and it's a game changer. The power of community when we are going through these things it can be life changing. And when I found the community, I was a little skeptical at first, but I was, I'm here for it. And it is proven, I'm going to say scientifically proven, and they are my scientific facts, to make a huge difference. You gain, the bonds that you gain, get from it, the education that you can get, the education, the understanding, the validation, and then you learn, you can learn things from one another. You learn from other people's stories, and learn how, you have people who will advocate on your behalf or speak up like, oh, no, that's not right. You need to do this. Because a lot of time there's a lot of things like within the help, like navigating or a chronic illness or disease. Unfortunately, people in life in any, aspect, they prey on the lack of knowledge that people have. So you may not know the quality of care that you're getting or what you're being told from any old doctor to be wrong, or that you have other options, or you can fire a doctor. You can do a lot of there's so many things you can do. But if you don't know that these things are wrong, how do you know? Just people speaking up, sharing their stories and learning, oh, well, I could try this. I didn't know.
Yep.
I didn't know this. I didn't know I could do this. So this is an option.
Yep.
Or, just resources. And resources are huge.
Yeah. The community is freaking unbelievable. I mean, the people that I've met on TikTok, they could be a state away, or they can be an ocean away over in the UK. The thing that I love about it is that, we all have our own things going on in life. Some of us might still be working. Some of us might not. Some of us might be in a wheelchair. Some of us might not. But the one thing that we have that commonality is we have the disease and we understand it. Somebody says that, I'm just not feeling it today. My legs aren't working, or I'm in a little bit more pain than normal. I get it, and other people get it too. And that's what I love about the community. It's so much easier to talk to people that can relate to you than trying to talk to people that don't get it. They just have no clue. and they just sit there and nod their head. Okay, I understand. I'm sorry. But, you really don't get it because they don't really want to listen to us. And it's just comforting to know that there's people out there that we can relate to.
It can, being chronically ill can be it can be very isolating. And when you find that community, it changes so much. We connect and it becomes a lifeline, for many. It can it truly become a lifeline for many of us. Reflects the strength that we forgot that we have back onto us. It lets us know, community, it's a mirror.
Yep, absolutely, Holly. I can sit here and talk to you all day. I know we talk a lot on the lives and we spend hours in there laughing and, just listening to other people and trying to help other people. But you're always going to have an invitation to come back and record with me because I know that you have a lot of good stuff to talk about. But if there's anything that you would want to tell anybody that's listening that might be in a similar situation as you, they might be a single mom and they're trying to fight this disease, what would be your message to them to just keep on fighting every day?
I think to anyone living with a chronic illness, especially if you're raising kids or you're navigating this life on your own, your journey, it's not linear and it's not supposed to be. Some days we're steady or, sometimes we're struggling, whether it be like mentally, emotionally, physically, and really most days just trying to make it from one moment to the next, but everything counts. We are doing enough. You are doing enough. We all deserve care, rest, support, and systems that respect our reality. None of us are alone. There is a whole community walking this non-linear path beside you, and just keep going at your own pace. We all matter.
Amen. Amen. I want to really thank you, Holly. If anybody wants to connect with Holly on TikTok, I will put her TikTok name in the description. Please connect with her, man. She's just an awesome lady to talk to. I really want to thank you for joining me today, Holly, and sharing your journey with me. I think it's going to help a lot of people just understand the system a little bit better and advocate for themselves. I think that's so important. I really want to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, and also, if you want to connect my column link as well.
Oh, yeah. I will absolutely do that. Yeah. Holly writes columns about chronic disease, and it's freaking awesome. I will put those links in the description if you want to check those out. And please hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, and share it out. We want to be understood. The best way to be understood is to listen to us talk. Until the next episode, this is the MS Michigan Man 64. I am out.